How are you doing, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Master Drum Whiskey Room. I am Jason C., and if you're a subscriber, welcome back. Glad to see you here again. If it's your first time here, you're looking for the latest in whiskey and bourbon news and reviews, you have found the right channel, so think about hitting that subscribe button below, and think about hitting that bell notification so you know when I'm putting out a new video. So today I'm excited to bring you the newest release from Peerless Distilling. This is their new 3-year Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey. It's a bottle that I've had for a little bit. I've never had a Peerless Rye Whiskey yet, so I've been excited to get into this, so let's get started. All right, guys, so the folks at Kentucky Peerless Distilling will tell you that patience builds character. In the case of aging Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, and they are not kidding, the Kentucky Peerless brand started way back in 1889 by Henry Craver. Now, at its peak in 1917, the distillery was producing 200 barrels of whiskey per day, more than 23,000 barrels a year. But like most distilleries around this time, the war and prohibition forced the distillery to close. So like a lot of distilleries at that time, Peerless brand became just kind of a footnote in distilling history until 4th and 5th generation descendants Corky Taylor and his son Carson Taylor brought back the brand to life nearly 100 years later. Now in 2014, the father-son duo started construction on a brand new distillery along Whiskey Row in downtown Louisville, Kentucky. A year later, in March of 2015, the family completed the distillery and had filled the first barrels of bourbon and rye whiskey in nearly a century. Now, all the while during planning construction, Corky was working behind the scenes to preserve his family's lineage and try to regain the family's long-dormant DSP-50, or their distilled spirits plant number. Now, the numbering system has changed a few times over the years, but to put this in perspective, today's numbers are in the 20,000 plus range. But after a year and a half of effort and a lot of lawyers, the family was granted the right to just legally use their DSP-50 once again, and you can see that on every single bottle that's released. So with that, on May 20th, 2017, the distillery opened for tours, and Peerless released their first whiskey in 100 years. It was a 2-year age, 107 proof, barrel strength, non-chill filtered, sweet mash rye whiskey, which retailed for about $125. Now, at a time when some newer producers are shortcutting the aging process by sourcing and just kind of finishing it, Peerless has really started from scratch. They're doing their own milling, cooking, fermenting, and double distilling in its new facility. And in 2017, Whiskey Advocate actually named their 2-year Peerless Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey the number 15 best whiskey in the world. So this past fall, to follow up their 2-year straight whiskey, the distillery introduced its 3-year-old Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey, which is what we're going to be reviewing today. And just like the last release, it uses strictly a sweet mash. It's non-chill filtered and bottled at barrel proof. In this case, this is 109.1 proof and sells for about $125 as well. Although I can tell you in some areas, I've seen some price drops down to about $90 to $100, which is always a welcome sight. Now, each bottle represents micro-batching with only 6 barrels blended to produce each batch. All right, guys, so here's a close-up look at the bottle. Obviously, it's such a cool bottle design. Love the retro feel to it. Always stood out on the shelf. I will admit I did pass up this bottle because of that $125 price point on it. But I did see this in the store, like I mentioned, for that about $90 to $100 range. So I figured I'd pick it up. Remember, this is 109.1 proof. Now it's a 3-year age statement on this. Which is pretty cool. Additionally, the Taylors have chosen to use a sweet mash between each fermentation, which is pretty different from the typical sour mash used by most distillers. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews and a lot of debate about the price point on this, but never had the Peerless Rye, so let's see if it lives up to the hype. So let's pop this open. Ooh, that was in there nice and tight. All right, let's get a pour. A little more. All right, guys, let's see how it stacks up. All right, guys, so I've been swirling this around for a few minutes, trying to open it up a little bit. Before we get into it, let's get into the color here. It's a really nice color. It's got a really dark golden, kind of a little nice shiny penny, nice copper color to it. Really sticks to the glass with that non-chill filtering, that high proof. Really, really good looking whiskey. All right, guys, let's get on the nose and see what we get. Here we go. Wow, right off the bat, apricots, peaches, all day. It's got a really nice orange citrus character to it, which I normally get on ryes. This one's really coming through strong though. Really nice orangey citrus flavor. Definitely a little bit of caramel and vanilla in there, some oak. I am not getting the proof on here at all. It's 109.1 proof. Not a lot of proof at all. Not really getting that ethanol on the nose at all. Really just, it's a little bit savory too. I am getting a little bit of an herbal quality. Maybe it's a little bit of a dill, but not strong at all. The sweet flavors and the fruits are really kind of overtaking the whole experience on the nose. Really inviting. It's got a nice balance of oak and a little bit of herbal flavors there too, but mainly on the nose, you're getting a lot of sweetness. All right, I'm going for my first sip, guys. Here we go. Cheers. Oh, wow. Okay, so first sip, really, really delicious. Right off the bat, you really taste the rye spice, definitely on the first sip. All the fruit flavors I was getting on the nose were just kind of punched in the face with that rye spice. Ooh, it's a nice long finish. Definitely sticking to the palate really nicely. All right, I'm excited for my second sip. Here we go. Cheers. Okay, now the fruit flavors are starting to show themselves in the palate a little bit. I'm very impressed by the viscosity of this. It's really just sticking to the palate. You're getting some vanilla, some caramel, some oak, but all that rye spice now that I wasn't really getting on the nose is now really coming through on the palate. But it's not in the form of like a licorice or a dill or something like that you would normally get on a rye. It's more like refreshing, that spearmint flavor, black pepper, definitely some oak there too. It keeps kind of evolving here as I take a sip on it. All right, let's take another sip, guys. Here we go. Cheers. Wow, it's surprising how sweet and how balanced it is. The sweetness up front, now those fruit flavors are definitely making themselves known, but it's coming across more now as a caramel, vanilla, brown sugar type flavor. It's not as fruit forward as it was on the nose, but the finish on this, that black pepper, maybe that spearminty, that really nice kind of burst that you get on the end is really balancing out the sweetness nice. Now, when you kind of combine that with the viscosity and the mouthfeel, it's very impressive on the first few sips. All right, let's go for another sip here, guys. Cheers. Ooh, I just got a really nice almond note there. That's really interesting for the rye. Wow, it's really, the sweetness in this is really interesting because, like I said on the nose, it definitely gives you those apricots and peaches flavors on the nose. But then on the palate, you don't get too much, but you definitely get a nice citrus kick. But now there's a almond flavor kind of mixed in there. But on the finish, you're still getting a really nice oak flavor, the spearmint, black pepper, really finishes like a rye really nicely. But like I said, the viscosity and the way it's kind of sticking to the palate, it's really impressive. All right, guys, now with that, what I want to do is, I was lucky enough to get a sample of the 2-year rye, this was the one that came in at 107 proof, their first release. So I want to thank Scott from my bourbon journey. Thanks for sending me the sample, Scott. I want to kind of do a quick comparison between the 2-year and the 3-year and see if that extra year made a big difference. Because in rye, usually, a year can make a big difference in a rye whiskey. So let's see how it did. So let's go to the 2-year on the nose. Yeah, the 2-year definitely has more of a, actually the 2-year reminds me a lot of the Rittenhouse on the nose, the Rittenhouse rye. It's got more of a traditional rye spice kick there. Definitely sugar sweetness, oak, pepper. You're getting like a little bit of maybe that peach flavor that I'm getting on this, but the 3-year one it's super pronounced. Yeah, not really getting a huge alcohol kick on this one either. Yeah, on the nose, it's really night and day. The 2-year definitely comes off more as a traditional rye whiskey. Definitely has that black pepper punch, a little bit of brown sugar, vanilla. Definitely a little bit of that dill, maybe a little bit of licorice there. But yeah, it just kind of smells like it's a younger rye, whereas this, even though it's only 1 year, the nose on this is way more rounded, way more fruit forward, has way more of a balance. So let's go into the palate. Here we go. Cheers. Oh, actually, you know what? That came off sweeter on the palate than I thought it would. Yeah, but it's still not. It's still not as balanced and as flavorful as the 3-year. You know, the 1 year makes a huge difference with the 2-year rye against the 3-year. So let's go for another quick sip of this one. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. The difference in 1 year for a rye whiskey, what a difference a year makes, it's pretty incredible. This is definitely more of a traditional rye. Reminds me a little bit of Rittenhouse. So like for me, for a 2-year rye whiskey that tastes like Rittenhouse was $25. I definitely would not pay $125 for this. Now for this, a 3-year, this is definitely more rounded, a little bit, has a lot more flavor, a lot more fruit forward flavors here, which I'm really enjoying. That's something that definitely sets itself apart from Rittenhouse rye. But what I'm really interested in is if this will set itself apart from one of my favorite ryes in the world, Pikesville. So let's find out. All right, guys, so I just poured some Pikesville rye. This is from Heaven Hill, one of my favorite ryes in the world. Now, this is only $50 as compared to 90 to 100. This is a 6-year rye, and it's slightly higher proof at 110 proof compared to 109.1. So let's do a quick comparison here and see what we get. All right, let's go to the nose real quick on the Pikesville. See, now the Pikesville rye is kind of more concentrated, sweet, caramel, vanillas. Definitely, you're still getting some of that citrus peel that I love in a good rye. Really nice. I mean, the brown sugar flavor in here and that really nice balance of oak, a little bit of that rye spice, that minty freshness, along with the vanillas and the caramels. The nose on Pikesville is really hard to beat. But it's crazy. This is just way more fruit forward than even the Pikesville. This is like pure apricots, peaches, oranges, nice balance of oak there. Whereas this, you're getting a lot more kind of darker sweet flavors with the caramels and the dark brown sugars, vanillas, almost like roasted vanilla beans. Totally different noses, but equally inviting. All right, let's go to the palate. Pikesville first. Oh, see that almond flavor, that marzipan, that deep almond flavor that I was getting slightly in here, definitely getting on this. There's definitely a little bit of a licorice note on there, but it's more caramel, dark brown sugar, sweet, oak, really nice and concentrated flavors on the Pikesville. The Pikesville is just way more of a smoother finish. Now, maybe it's just because my palate's a little bit used to drinking the higher proofers here, but I'm not getting as much of an oak spice or a black pepper kick as I'm getting on this. And that could be just because it's aged 3 years more than this one is at 6 years. But the dark flavors in here are really delicious. It's got a great balance with the oak. You definitely get some of that rye spice in there, a little bit of that mintiness. All right, let's compare it quick to this one. Cheers. I mean, this still is coming off as more fruit forward, fruit flavors. A lot of a good, real nice oak spice character in it. It's really good. If I had to choose between the two, I would still go with Pikesville. Although for a 3-year rye, I think the flavor and complexity in this is really way past what I thought it would be. It's extremely impressive whiskey, but I think for $100, I don't think it's there yet or past Pikesville, what Pikesville gives me personally to pay the extra $50 or $60 for it. But this in a couple more years is going to be an absolutely amazing rye whiskey. But for now, I think I'll just keep sipping on my Pikesville for $50. All right, guys. Well, thanks again for watching the Mash and Drum Whiskey Room. Really hope you enjoyed this review and this comparison for the Peerless Distilling 3-year Kentucky Straight Rye versus their 2-year and also versus the Pikesville. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't yet, please hit the subscribe button below. Please hit the like button. You can find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Let me know on there or in the comments what you think of the Peerless Rye or Pikesville or what your favorite ryes are. And like I always say, it is not about the whiskey, it is the people you share it with. So cheers everyone, and I'll see you next time.